This is Mac from JLPTBootcamp.com here with another N5 grammar lesson, this time talking about adjectives. And imagine, if you will, that you have just arrived in Japan and you get off the plane, you're at the airport, and you meet your friend from college who was an exchange student from Japan. He greets you, konnichiwa, you reply konnichiwa, and then he takes one look at your bags and says, "Oki." And you say, "Hi." They're very big bags. And this "oki" means big in Japanese. And so this is a very common way to express yourself in Japanese, just saying the adjective for a particular item. So you can look at something and comment, "Oki," that's big. "Chisai," that's very small. If you can tell what it is by looking at it, you can use just the adjective to comment on it. And what your friend was using is the regular E adjective. These adjectives have the E sound at the end. For example, amai, which means sweet. And that's their basic characteristic. Now, not all adjectives that end in E are E adjectives, but all E adjectives end in E, if that makes sense. We'll go over another kind of adjective very shortly, but there are some other adjectives that end in E but aren't actually E adjectives. And for amai, we can't actually look at something and say amai. We would have to actually taste whatever the item is. So in this particular situation, these gumdrops, you would, and this is very common, you would see this on Japanese TV shows. They take a bite out of it and say amai. Wow, that's sweet. Or another word is umai, which is delicious, a word for delicious, that you would see a lot on Japanese TV shows. They take one bite and they just scream adjectives. It's very interesting to watch. And if you put this in to modify a noun, you just put it in front of the noun. So, for example, amai desato, a sweet dessert, very sweet dessert. Gumdrops are very sweet. That's very easy. You don't have to change the E adjective in any way if you want to use it in the positive sense. This is a sweet dessert. So to continue on with our story, your friend, he helps you get on the train and then asks, "Genki?" And you reply, "Hai." Now this genki means, it has a lot of different translations. It can be translated as lively or doing well, have a lot of energy. It has a couple different translations, but in this situation, you can ask someone genki with a rising intonation. You're asking them how they're doing. This is the equivalent of, in English, of, "Hey, how you doing? Are you okay today?" It's not so commonly used. It's not as commonly used in Japanese as it is in English. The "how are you?" Right? In English, when we answer the phone, we might say, "How are you? How are you?" It's a very quick. It's basically how we say hello a lot of times in English, but it isn't as common in Japanese. But people still do use it. And he's using a different kind of adjective called a na adjective. And for example, another example here is shizuka. Shizuka means quiet or calm place or situation. And the reason why these adjectives are called na adjectives is that when you place them in front of a noun, when they modify a noun, you have to use the na particle. For example, shizuka na jinja. Now you can remember this by na adjectives gnaw on nouns. They bite into or chew on nouns. They need that na to modify a noun. And na adjectives behave completely differently than e adjectives. They do describe nouns. They can describe situations. They are adjectives, but the way you conjugate them, the way you use them in sentences and certain structures, you use them in a different way, and they need to be conjugated differently. I'll be going over how to do that in the different situations in some upcoming episodes, but basically keep in mind that these two adjectives behave differently. And you might be wondering why there are e adjective and na adjectives in the first place. And the reason why is that na adjectives actually come to Japanese from Chinese. These are Chinese adjectives. Of course, the pronunciation is different and has changed over the years, but they're basically from Chinese, whereas e adjectives are native to Japanese. And you can start to kind of feel the difference between these two types of adjectives. For example, a lot of na adjectives are written all in kanji with no okurigana. Okurigana is the hiragana that is attached to kanji after the end. So for example, a word like atarashi, the shi part is the okurigana, whereas the kanji represents atara, the sound atara. And so the okurigana is the shi. So a na adjective typically doesn't have okurigana. There's exceptions to this rule. There's no rule that covers all na adjectives and all e adjectives. But in general, a lot of the na adjectives have 2 or 3 kanji. Again, there's exceptions to that. Before we went over shizuka. Shizuka has only 1 kanji and okurigana, the ka. But there's a lot of na adjectives that are all kanji. And that's because, of course, they come directly from Chinese, which it uses all kanji. Whereas e adjectives, they will, of course, always end in e. A lot of times they'll have an S sound towards the end, but not always. You can see here, amai doesn't end with a shi sound or a su sound or anything. But you'll start to kind of feel the difference between these two adjectives over time as you study them. And just be aware that there's 2 different kinds of adjectives and they're used in different ways. So pop quiz. How do you say these 2 words, 2 phrases in Japanese? Big dog, lively dog. And here's a hint. Dog is inu in Japanese. All right, for big dog, you would say oki inu. Again, there's nothing you need to put between the adjective and the noun. You just put the adjective before the noun. Whereas lively dog would be genki na inu. So you need to put the na between genki and inu if the na adjective comes before the noun and it's modifying the noun. All right, that's it for today. You made it. You're on the train into town. So this is you've learned about adjectives. If you know a friend that is just starting out in Japanese and would find this video helpful, by all means, copy this link and email it to him and be a good friend and help him learn some Japanese. All right, until next time. This has been a grammar explanation video from the JLPT Bootcamp Premium site. Inside the site, you will find some extra goodies, for example, some cheat sheets for all of the videos. And those cheat sheets include a few things. For example, some common mistakes that people make, as well as some example test questions for the JLPT. If you're interested in taking the JLPT and you want that extra edge, something to kind of push you above and get the points that you need to pass, I encourage you to stop by the website at jlptbootcamp.com/premium. There you can find the cheat sheets as well as some extra practice with the grammar points that I've been talking about today. Hope to see you in the premium site very soon. This has been Mac from jlptbootcamp.com.